Frankie gave a little spit and pulled the loose tobacco from his bottom lip. I sipped my coffee. He stubbed his cigarette out, rolled another and placed it behind his ear. He went to the kettle and made a cup of tea. He walked toward me with the cup in hand, placed it on the table, looked directly at me and said, "Do you want to know why I don't believe in all that stuff you do be saying about Jesus?" "Go on, tell me." Frankie pulled the chair back and it made a screeching sound. Then, placing his hands under it, he inched forward, took his cup and sipped his tea. "I'm a tenement kid who was sent away by a judge in a courtroom in an uproar as me ma was fit to be tied. I was only a little young fella when they hauled me right across the country, about 190 miles. I was only a little young fella." Those words painted a picture that was so vivid I could see it. "Ah, George, you'd want to see the place where we were living. The overcrowded tenement houses, the cobble streets, the washing hanging from the window, and kids in caps playing ball barefooted while the women pushed their prams. And a boy in court, lost, alone, amid so many faces that were uncaring, angry and judgmental. Me screams echoed through the building as me ma was held back with her outstretched hand saying, Francis, oh, me son, me son!" If she knew what was ahead of me, she'd have cried all the more. When the doors of Letterfrack closed, I knew I was never going to be the same. I was there for about a year. The winters were the worst. In the dorm there were beds with the boys snoring, crying, and others fearfully whimpering under the blankets, and the sound of the door opening and closing. Anyway, me and a fella called Limerick John decided to do a runner. We both went into a room and saw a kid as thin as a twig, with eyes that were black and blue and almost closed. He looked like the rest of us, starving, and when he turned, we could see how he'd soiled himself. We watched him grope the wall, crying until a brother came in and slapped him across the face. One day, Limerick John and me ran. Once we got far enough away, we walked on through grasslands and down lanes with dirt tracks. We saw a man in the distance walking in a field of cows, and boys our age swimming in a river, so we snuck up and stole their clothes and fled. We came across a house with whitewashed walls and clothes hanging on the line. Limerick John and me snuck up and peeked in the window and saw a countrywoman ironing her clothes. There was bread cut in a basket, slices of cheese and buns and jam. Limerick tapped the window and the woman turned around, ran out chasing him with her broom, so I was able to rush inside, get bread, cheese and 2 homemade buns. We passed the odd house, George, that looked like no one lived in it since the famine. And if someone did, they must have been very poor people. Then we came across this little cottage on a narrow road. A couple were standing in the garden. They watched us with very suspicious eyes. I heard the woman say, Oh, they're them Dublin boyos. The man said something in Irish, put the brush he was holding against the wall and went inside. A tall man came to the door, hair as white as snow. He looked like a corpse. Limerick John said, He's after saying something about the Christian brothers. We better run, Frankie. So we ran as fast as we could. Oh, we ran until we came to this spot that was the most breathtaking place a boy from Dublin could wish to see. It was all hills and valleys, and there was a lake. So that night we stayed there, sleeping under the open sky, Limerick John and me. The next day, hungry, cold and alone, we tracked what must have been 4 miles. What we didn't know was we were making our way back. Then, as we found a narrow road, we saw it. The Garda car coming towards us. We were too tired to run, so we sat on the grass and just waited. The doors of the car opened and 2 tall, uniformed men stepped out. They looked on us kindly and they helped us up, telling us how worried the brothers were for our safety and how they were longing for our return. And that's the impression they gave, greeting us as we stepped out of the car. They were tender, almost loving, rubbing our heads and kissing our foreheads. But once they were inside, they bet us within an inch of our lives. And they bet us and bet us and bet us. We were made to stand in our own piss in a corner, battered black and blue, with our lips cut and with black eyes, with a bucket of cold water on our heads and told not to move. See, one day, as the brothers bet me and I fell into my own blood, I saw it, George. You saw what, Frankie? I saw the cross hanging from that brother's neck as he grinded his teeth with spit spilling from his mouth. One morning, as I wiped the blood from me busted lip, I thought about why I was there. Why were you there, Frankie? Did you rob a shop? No. A loaf of bread from a baker. You're a nice fella, George. One of our own. But I've seen enough of the cross and Christian brothers. In the silence, we shared a glance. I knew what he was thinking. No quick answers, no comebacks, George. He was wrong. I had answers. But why win the battle and lose the war? This hour was his, not mine. Mourn with those who mourn. That was the only reply that I needed to show. Time was moving on and I had a wall to rub up, so clapping the table I said, "Okay, Frankie, I get it." Once I reached the door, I took hold of the handle and turned. "Frankie, it's a pity them so-called brothers will get off with it on Judgment Day." "Get off? How?" "There's no witness." I was using a human court setting to draw him out. Of course, they were not going to get off. They didn't know Jesus. I'm the witness." "No, you're not." I let go of the handle and walked towards him. "See, Frankie, you're on their side. Therefore, there's no witness. On that day, when the charges read out in the holy courts of holy God, when 1 billion angels and every human is there for all mankind will meet in the judgment hall of God, no witness will be found." Silence. He bowed his head as if he was not only robbed in this life, but in the next as well. And then compassion walked in. But compassion was accompanied by grace. Here in this place, a shaved-headed, fingerless man, the chief of sinners among sinners, sent at that very appointed time, on that hour, in that day, to deliver the message of salvation to a tenement boy whose life was broken by men who called themselves Christian brothers. Frankie, if you're not on Jesus' side, you're on theirs, I said softly. You need to forgive them. They've set bars on your heart. But if you go to God, forgive, he cut in with eyes burning with fire. Forgive, he repeated. Forgive, I replied. If you go to God this very night and ask him to help you, grace will meet you there. Ah, Frankie, ask Jesus to come in and be your Lord and Saviour. And on that note, I had to leave. I rubbed the wall I was working on, but I couldn't get Frankie and his story out of my head. The next day, I entered the canteen to an uproar of questions. Then my name was called from outside. The door was opened and a man said, "George Fitzgerald, grab your tools, there's a plaster I needed on another job." I looked and watched Frankie make his way toward me. "I said it, George. I said that prayer last night, like you said." I took hold of his hands and looked into his eyes, which were full of peace. And I said, "I'll see you on that day, Frankie." And I never saw him again in this world. But we did pray for him at the cell group in Finglas South, Dublin 11.